Before we begin, I want to state that I do not condone the harassment of any individuals talked about in this video. I have also taken precautions to uphold promises I've made to other people. All of this information, with the exception of personal experiences, is public information, and said experiences will not cross the aforementioned lines. So I've been kind of off and on when it comes to an official response to everything that's happened recently. In case you have been somehow avoiding everything that's been happening, let me catch you up. On March 16th and 17th, two of my videos were taken down by a then unknown party. I have no qualms with putting part of their reportedly now taken down email, well referred to as Jeremy, until I feel like it, on blast because, well, it's public information. Either way, Jeremy, in quotes, did not do this to me alone, and did this to dozens of people over the course of mid-March. This seemed to be in response, and at the time in tandem with, a series of legitimate strikes made by the real CSC on behalf of Bungie, which is a topic I also take a slight issue with, which I'll explain later, unless you've seen a certain video still on my channel. Moving on, thanks to my videos on Last Stand and the First Disciple being struck, I made the executive decision to wipe all content that could be construed as a potential target from my channel, which is why, despite the false takedowns having been reversed, only the two aforementioned videos are back up. Since then, Bungie has unmasked the perpetrator, who was someone we knew. I'm not going to name them. I know it's public information at this point, but they know who they are. And if you're watching this, there are ways for you to figure it out. Furthermore, I don't condone their harassment, which sounds obvious, but I can never stress enough for people to follow the given guidelines. To say there's a sense of betrayal within us, the people that I work with to archive, document, and preserve the music of Destiny as best and as legally as we can, is underselling the effect. We didn't know. We trusted him, and he lied to us, to our faces, deceived us with the promise of potential change without checking the history of the CSC email used. But that doesn't matter now. What matters is what's left, the damage that was done, and the remnants of the purge. So I'll air my final grievances, because it's my duty to myself to speak my own truth on the matter and how it's affected me. I'm going to start by looking towards CSC Actual, as in the company that does actually issue copyright takedowns on behalf of Bungie. But before I get started on that, I'd like to apologize for half of my passive-aggressive statements that I made during the purge. I genuinely believed CSC was actually responsible for them, and it was not. My bad. Despite that, they'll remain up for posterity's sake as a show of history. However, there is still something I need to bring up. As I mentioned, legitimate CSC-based takedowns occurred over YouTube earlier in the year, close to and during January, and continuing for much longer. In the original official documents regarding the false takedown lawsuit, Bungie admits issuing 41 legitimate takedowns in March alone. The false takedown perpetrator was hit by these, much earlier and during as well, which is their motive for committing these acts. Anyway, these legitimate strikes are curious because it means an earlier video uploaded to my channel titled Our Response to Bungie's Music Copyright Stance actually continues to hold merit. Because of the court document, we have confirmation that another email address thrown around during the time of the purge is actually CSC. This is the same email that took down the prophecy video that was the subject of the mentioned video. While I talk more on that in a moment, I want to say there was no prior warning given to this video. It was sudden, without warning, and seemingly without a proper look into the situation once it was taken down. And here's why that's a strange case. It is not a simple re-upload, which many of the videos that were taken down were. In fact, I'd argue the prophecy video is the pinnacle of the type of videos I and a colleague of mine would do, or had done. I myself was present during many stages of this video's production lifecycle, so my question that will undoubtedly go unanswered is this. Why am I seemingly okay enough to be mentioned in a court document as a victim, but that one video is taken down? I understand soundtrack re-uploads, as in taking the soundtrack edits of a piece and re-uploading them without changing them at all, or even minor edits that, don't come anywhere near, free use. But why take down a video that surpasses all of those, and even most, if not all, of my own. This is what initially caused a ruckus out of me and others in January, and we still do not have the proper clarity for it. Though I guess the proper terminology is that I do not have the proper clarity for it, because others have moved on. That video had been up for over a year and a half. Some others have been up for longer and are just simple uploads of released content. Yet it was taken down. I ask as a person who's slowly falling apart for an answer, a proper answer. This singular act is what struck fear into myself and everyone around me, and I'd argue was half the reason the false takedowns occurred. You know, this was the one that struck fear into me and my peers, after all. At the least, we need some form of an answer. One that explains the seemingly hypocritical nature of the takedown. Unless I was next, in which case I'd love to know that, but the fact that I was mentioned in the list of affected parties in the court case tells me that I was okay, that I was allowed. So why the hypocrisy? Is it because I was well known and I wouldn't be so easily silenced? An answer is an answer, even if it's not the one you want to hear. There's also YouTube, which bears a lot of blame for the events that transpired. Not only was it easy for the perpetrator to do this, which they even listed how to right under our noses, but they made it difficult to get anything done with the lawsuit according to the legal document. It's not a new thing, as YouTube's copyright policies and customer service have been a recurring villain in many stories as of late, but it's worth mentioning that it's happened again. Moving on, I'd like to touch on the timing and the effects of this event. This was horrible timing, to put it blatantly. I had a rising existential crisis, and this turned what would have been a couple of days of questioning my life into about 2 weeks. Safe to say that it took a lot to feel better. A channel's a channel, but when my Google account is at risk, that's a different story. If you're wondering, I am doing much better, or at least I was until I came back to this script and started updating it in lieu of the news. That does lead me to my next point. I'm tired. I am sick of being lied to, deceived, manipulated. It's just all so tiresome. But the perpetrator has been unveiled, the false takedowns reversed. All that remains is what we do now. The archival efforts made by me and everyone else I've worked with are permanently in ruin, near mortally wounded by this event. There are some within our group that are working towards acquiring a license to either restart the process or just reach inward. I also had plans, which I labeled as Operation Recovery 2. If you get that reference, let me know. Recovery 2 was meant to take the videos of both me and Bresci, also known by Destiny Music Collective, and unify them under one channel. However, as of the time of writing this, the tightrope for uploads is too thin. As such, I personally will not be restarting this YouTube process. If you've come to my channel for music, find it somewhere else. If someone else decides to have a go and makes it far enough, I'll reinstate some playlists and get my own playlist mixes going. I will also be helping those I work with whatever they need from me. However, I cannot handle another wave of this, and the anxiety I already feel being anywhere near Destiny as a franchise is one that can't be doubled down on by an exterior force. I maintain a delicate balance with it, and the balance was torn down in March. I don't know how many people will hear this, much less pay attention to it, but thank you if you've gotten this far. I'd also like to thank Bungie for reaching out to me at the height of this problem, and also apologize once more to CSC Official for the snarky comments, though I'd still like an answer on that prophecy video. I apologize for the melodrama. Thoughts on Season of the Haunted will begin writing soon. The Build Up to Darkness project is on hold right now, as I don't particularly feel like life events will allow me to do too much. Midnight is still in planning. My Twitter DMs are open if you'd like a statement or just to check in. Nothing more to report.